I've always been surprised by how quick men are. I've lived long enough to know that when it comes to intimacy, patience is a virtue that few have mastered. Men often seem to compete to see who arrives first, who wins faster, who advances without even noticing a woman's subtle signals. In the past, this intrigued me. But today, at 76 years old, I understand that it is just a reflection of a lack of knowledge and sensitivity. Many are afraid of approaching a real woman, of losing themselves in the game of seduction, of facing the time that female excitement demands. And I don't blame them entirely. Society teaches them to act like this. But most women react negatively to this rush. We are made of rhythms, nuances, moments that need to be respected for pleasure to really happen. Today I want to share something that I learned throughout my life, and that can change the way many see female desire. I want to talk about 3 points on a woman's body that are often ignored, but which have immense power in arousal. But before that, I want to tell you a story that left a deep impression on me. Over the years, I have heard many stories, seen many women cry in frustration, and feel inadequate for no reason at all. And that's what I want to talk about. A young woman once came to me, distressed. She was married. She and her husband seemed to be living well. And to the world, her intimate life seemed to be in order. But something bothered her. She confessed to me that, since her youth, she had only been able to feel pleasure in a specific way, and this worried her. She only experienced the so-called myotonic orgasm. At first, I smiled, as I already knew this manifestation of female pleasure well. I've seen a lot of women go through this, and I know there's nothing wrong. But I realized that to her, it seemed like a problem, a barrier to something she believed to be normal. And after all, what is this myotonic orgasm? For those who have never heard of it, it is a natural response of the female body. When a woman tightens her thighs or crosses her legs, the adductor muscles come into action, causing indirect pressure on the external genitalia. The result? A wave of pleasure, often more intense than any other stimulus. This is something that happens more often than you might think. But the lack of knowledge makes some women feel ashamed instead of celebrating their sexuality. And that's exactly what happened to this young woman. She heard from someone that this type of pleasure was inferior, immature, and from then on, she began to doubt her own body. This is a mistake I see happening generation after generation. But it's time to change this mindset. And that's what I want to keep talking about. Myotonic orgasm occurs when a woman squeezes her thighs or crosses her legs. This apparently simple movement triggers a powerful neuromuscular response, activating the adductor muscles and, at the same time, causing indirect pressure on the external genitalia. This contraction creates a wave of excitement that, for many women, can be enough to reach climax. Pleasure does not necessarily depend on penetration or direct stimulation. The female body is much more complex and responds in different ways. In her case, this was how her pleasure manifested itself, and until then, it had never been a problem. Fortunately, your partner understood this, and not only accepted, but also respected your way of experiencing pleasure. In a healthy relationship, communication about what works for each person is essential. She didn't feel ashamed. She didn't try to hide what worked for her. On the contrary, she demonstrated confidence in sharing her preferences with him. This level of comfort and trust in the couple is one of the pillars of a fulfilling sex life. But, unfortunately, people around us don't always understand or respect the uniqueness of female pleasure. One day, during a conversation, she heard something from a man that deeply destabilized her. He stated that the type of orgasms she experienced were immature, inferior, and that a woman who really knew her body should be able to have real orgasms. That hit her hard. Until then, she had never questioned her own pleasure. But now a seed of doubt had been planted. During the next sexual intercourse, instead of surrendering to the moment, his mind was occupied with a distressing question. What's wrong with me? When he tried to apply the technique that always gave him pleasure, something strange happened. It didn't work. Doubt paralyzed her, and her body, which had previously responded naturally, now seemed unable to reach the same climax. And so, she came to me, desperate. "What do you mean?" she asked, distressed. "Before I was immature, and now I'm completely without pleasure?" What she didn't know was that, when she doubted her own ability to feel pleasure, her brain began to block the orgasmic response. This is because pleasure is not just physical, it is also mental. The brain is the largest sexual organ we have, and when we start to doubt ourselves, tension and self-consciousness become obstacles to pleasure. If a woman has a myotonic orgasm, this is absolutely normal. It's already great luck that she found something that works for her. However, insecurity can be a great enemy. If a woman begins to question whether she is wrong, whether what she feels is not enough, whether she needs to change to please someone, she may lose something precious, the connection with her own body. This is how many women come to believe that they need external solutions, revolutionary methods, products and techniques that promise to awaken a new orgasm, as if what they already have is not legitimate. But the truth is that myotonic orgasm has a right to exist, just like any other form of pleasure. If she wants to try something new, there are techniques that can help her, and her partner can be a great ally in this process. There are specific positions that allow you to intensify this sensation, pressure variations that can bring new discoveries. But none of this needs to be an obligation. What really matters is that the woman understands that her pleasure is valid, that she does not need external validation, and that her body has a unique way of responding to excitement. Today I will continue talking about 3 points on the female body that can intensify arousal and lead to pleasure. And I have good news for you. Watch this video until the end, because at the end I will tell you this news. So let's go to the first point. Note that we always proceed from top to bottom. Stimulation of erogenous zones begins at the periphery and goes towards the center. The first point is the back of the wrist. Throughout my life, I've learned that the female body responds in subtle and unexpected ways. Many women, without even realizing it, have an extraordinary sensitivity in this region. Unlike direct touching of obvious areas, such as the lips or breasts, stimulation on the wrists creates a more refined sensation, awakening the skin in a delicate, almost intriguing way. This happens because the nerve receptors there are close to the surface, making the area extremely responsive to the slightest touch. A light brush of a man's fingers, a subtle kiss, or even a breath of air can give you goosebumps and prepare your body for gradual arousal. The secret is in lightness. When fingers gently glide over the skin of the wrist, the female body responds with almost instinctual anticipation. This small region, often ignored, has the power to activate a chain reaction. The aroused sensation in the wrists can spread down the arm, neck, and, for some women, reach the perineum. This sensory path causes excitement to course through the body naturally, creating a state of increasing pleasure even before more direct touches. This is exactly what many women need: a patient approach, which respects the time needed for their senses to be fully activated. We then move on to the second point, the tragus and the external part of the ear canal. Anyone who has ever had a partner who pays attention to this detail knows what I'm talking about. The female ear is an area of great sensitivity, but few people exploit its potential in the correct way. The tragus, This small cartilage at the entrance to the ear canal contains a surprising number of nerve endings. For some women, the simple touch there can generate an immediate shiver, almost like an involuntary reflex. The earlobe, in turn, is one of the most erogenous areas, especially when stimulated in a rhythmic and engaging way. Remember the movie Untouchables, where the character mentioned that a massage of the earlobes could even cause an orgasm? This may seem exaggerated to some, but anyone who understands the complexity of the female body knows that arousal is not limited to what is obvious. When a man uses his lips and fingers to stimulate this area, or gently blows a stream of cool air against the ear canal, the body's response can be instantaneous. The difference in temperature between the warm air in your mouth and the cold air in your surroundings causes a unique sensation, triggering intense emotions. Touching this area is not only pleasurable, it awakens involuntary attention, a feeling of vulnerability that, when handled well, significantly increases arousal. And now we come to the third point, the seventh cervical vertebra. If you've never noticed this region as an erogenous area, it's time to pay attention. The trajectory of excitement, when well worked, follows a logical path, from the wrists to the ears, up the neck, until reaching the base of the neck. The seventh cervical vertebra is that small bony protrusion that is at the top of the spine, at the beginning of the thoracic region. In thin women, it can be easily identified as a slight bump in the skin, but even in fuller bodies, this area responds incredibly well to subtle touches. This vertebra should not be confused with a swollen lymph node or a muscular bulge. It is a strategic point of connection between the nervous system and the rest of the body. Touch here can be deeply relaxing and at the same time highly stimulating. Applying light pressure with the heel of your palm or making gentle circular movements with your finger generates internal warming, which not only relaxes you, but also awakens an intense connection with your own body. Many women carry tension in this region without realizing it, and a simple touch can release this energy, creating a state of deep relaxation that makes it easier to indulge in pleasure. More than just knowing where to touch, it is essential to understand the as. What really transforms a woman's experience is not strength or haste, but presence and intention in the touch. When a partner is attentive to detail, when he explores each area with patience and insight, he allows the woman to fully immerse herself in the experience. The female body does not work like a switch that turns on instantly. It needs to be awakened carefully, with the delicacy of someone who understands that true pleasure is not just in the destination, but in each step of the journey. And it is this journey that I will continue to talk about. It's not just about techniques or tricks. It's about a change in perspective. If you really want to understand how the female body responds to pleasure, if you want to deepen this knowledge and apply it in a meaningful way, stay with me. There is much more to be explored, and at the end of this video, I will bring something new that can transform the way you see intimacy. You are giving off heat. She is emitting heat. This is not just a physical issue, but also a profound exchange of energy. The human body is not just a biological machine. It carries a unique vibration, a field of sensations that responds to the presence of the other. When we get close to someone, we are not only sharing space, but also adjusting our frequencies, tuning our body rhythms almost unconsciously. The area of the body where this heat concentrates is not protected by thick layers of muscle or bone. It is vulnerable, sensitive, ready to feel. Here, more than just the temperature, you exchange something more subtle, a tune of pulse, vibration, desire. This is a phenomenon that happens naturally in couples who have a true connection. Have you ever noticed how, over time, partners start to have similar sleeping patterns, or how, when lying together, the rhythm of breathing aligns without them realizing it. This happens because the human body is highly responsive to the presence of others. This tune is fundamental to pleasure. If there is a rush, if there is anxiety or tension, the female body feels it and closes down. But when the environment is safe, comfortable, and the touch is careful, everything changes. The first sign that she is ready is not in her body, but in the way she reacts internally. First, she feels. Before any intense touch, before any more direct stimulus, your own body begins to respond. It's like a slow awakening, an invitation to surrender. She notices internal signals. Her skin becomes more receptive. Her breathing changes subtly. And then, when she feels like she can trust, the arousal process happens naturally, effortlessly, without the need to rush. And that goes for all ages. Desire and pleasure do not just belong to young people. Over the years, the body may change, but the ability to feel pleasure and connection does not disappear. On the contrary, it may become even more profound. Many elderly people carry limiting beliefs about sexuality in their maturity, as if desire were something that would disappear over time. But the truth is that intimacy in old age can be even richer, more meaningful, because it is accompanied by a greater understanding of one's own body and the other's body. The secret is to rediscover pleasure in a different way, exploring new ways of connecting, valuing small touches, complicity, and harmony between bodies. And if there are challenges, there are also solutions. For men, issues such as a decrease in testosterone and a reduction in the rigidity of erections can generate insecurity. For women, hormonal changes can affect lubrication and sensitivity. But none of this means the end of sexual life, just that it needs to be given new meaning. Touch, patience, rediscovery of the body. All of this can transform intimacy into something even more pleasurable and special. Small changes, such as investing in sensual massages, exploring new ways of touching, and rediscovering erogenous zones, make all the difference. Pleasure has no age, and the connection between two bodies, when well cultivated, can last forever. If you want to deepen this knowledge and learn how to make intimacy even more pleasurable, stay with me. At the end of this video, I will bring you something new that can transform the way you see desire and connection in your relationship. After all, it's never too late to feel, to experience pleasure to the fullest and conscious. The news I bring to our dear old people is precisely the idea that pleasure and intimate connection can be maintained and even improved with small changes in routine and self-care. Many people believe that, as the years go by, libido and the ability to feel pleasure decrease drastically. But recent research shows that this is not a rule. The secret lies in the way we take care of our body, our mind, and above all, our relationship with our partner. One of the most interesting discoveries in this regard is the impact of diet on sexual health. Studies show that foods rich in antioxidants, such as pure cocoa, nuts, berries, and olive oil, help improve blood circulation, which has a direct effect on the body's sensitivity and response to pleasure. Furthermore, simple practices such as stretching and breathing exercises can increase body awareness and facilitate surrender to the intimate moment. Another fundamental aspect that many are unaware of is the importance of breathing in the sexual response. Deep and controlled breathing techniques help reduce anxiety, improve body oxygenation, and increase the perception of touch. Something as simple as taking a deep breath and letting it out slowly can significantly increase pleasure during intimacy. And now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of this topic? Did you already know this information? Do you believe that pleasure should be cultivated throughout life? Share your opinions in the comments, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next content. A big hug, and see you in the next video.